Ecclesiastes 11:14 says, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant, and whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." Some of us aren't stuck because God said no. We are stuck because we're waiting for the perfect conditions that are never coming. So let me ask you something. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll start when things calm down. I will launch the business when I have more money. I'll write the book when I have more time. I will apply for the job when I feel more qualified. I will start the healing when life gets less stressful. I'll start the ministry when I'm more confident." And somehow, that perfect moment keeps moving further and further away. What's interesting is that this isn't a new problem. People have been doing this for thousands of years, and that is why Ecclesiastes 11:14 says, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant, and whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." At first glance, it sounds like Solomon is talking about farming, but he's really talking about us. Think about a farmer for a minute. A farmer can stand in a field all day, analyzing the weather. The wind isn't quite right. The clouds look concerning. Maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe next week will be safer. Maybe next season will be easier. And while he's standing there waiting for the perfect condition, nothing gets planted. And here's the problem. You cannot harvest what you never had the courage to plant. Somebody needs to hear that one more time. You cannot harvest what you never had the courage to plant. You cannot reap the business that you never started. You cannot experience the growth that comes from a habit you never began. You cannot live the life God is calling you into while you are standing on the sideline waiting to feel ready. Because readiness is one of the biggest myths that we tell ourselves. Most people think successful people felt ready before they began. They did not. They started scared. They began uncertain. They started without all the answers, and the difference is that they stopped consulting their fear before making every decision. And I think that is what Solomon is exposing here. The person watching the wind isn't being wise. They're being controlled by uncertainty. They're looking for guarantees. They're looking for proof. They are looking for the promise that nothing will go wrong, but faith has never worked that way. Think about it. If God showed you every obstacle before you started, would you ever begin? If he showed you every setback, every rejection, every closed door, every lesson you would have to learn, most of us would have stayed exactly where we are. So instead, God gives us enough light for the next step, not the entire staircase. And that's where so many people get stuck. You're asking God for certainty, and God is asking you for obedience. You're asking for guarantees when God is asking you to move. You're asking God to show you the harvest, and God is asking you to plant the seed. Because here's what nobody tells you about waiting for the perfect condition. Perfect conditions don't create success. Action creates success. The business comes before you start. The confidence comes after you take the risk. The skill develops after you practice. The clarity arrives after you move, not before. And maybe that's why the enemy loves perfectionism so much, because perfectionism sounds responsible. It sounds wise, it sounds mature, but a lot of the time, perfectionism is just a fear wearing a nicer outfit. It's a fear of failing, a fear of looking foolish, a fear of getting it wrong, a fear of being seen before you are ready. And fear has convinced countless people to spend years preparing for a life they never actually began. So what if feels are just an opportunity? And what seed has God been asking you to plant? What dream have you been postponing? What conversations have you been avoiding? What step have you been waiting to take until the wind changes and the clouds disappear?